Are you
Play a
gonna?
rhythm.
Yeah, nice. No guitar, man.
No
Well,
guitar, drums.
oh well. Yeah, we can't even hear the drums, but that's
Oh
okay.
yeah.
What are you gonna do? Dave
What are you
Grohl
gonna do?
said
You have to improvise, as they say.
Dave Grohl got his start playing drums, hitting his pillows in his bedroom. So everybody's got to
Really?
start. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Didn't have.
I'm ending my musical career by beating on the top of a table here at the Hyatt Santa Clara.
Oh boy. So
Yeah.
we're very familiar with that Hyatt.
Yeah. And here's the famous bar. Everybody knows this bar,
Yep, yep.
and
Many
everybody knows
meetings.
this lobby.
Yep,
And I'm here.
lots of stuff happens right there at that bar. You're right about that. Oh my god,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah. And you know what?
Wow.
This hotel's been around for a really long time. I think the first time I was here was when I was in high school. Came
Yeah,
here for a Key Club convention. That was
nice.
my first time here, and it was the first time I got it exposed to Great America Park. The Great America Park over here.
Yep, right.
And San Jose was not much to look at back then. I mean, that was like old school. About the time when Apple was taking off, right, and changing the world.
Did you happen to have? Did you have to ride in a school bus all the way from San Diego, or did they fly you up?
No, our principal drove us all the way up from Anaheim in his massive station wagon.
Awesome,
Remember those
awesome.
things?
I do. I do. Some of them had those seats like at the very back that might be facing different directions and stuff on some of those
Yeah,
old stations.
yeah, exactly. And I was in the back, and it was hot because the air conditioner didn't reach.
Didn't reach me, but
Oh
you
my
could
god, you're digging up horrible old memories.
you could torture people behind you, the cars behind you, because you're looking out the back window of the station wagon, so you can make weird signs,
Yeah.
gang signs at them, whatever.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We were doing some horrible stuff. Like we were shooting spit wads out the back and trying to hit cars that were trailing us. And the principal didn't know it, but obviously he could have gotten into a big road rage moment if we
Yes,
had been too successful in our
right.
mischievous endeavors. So, yeah.
So why don't you tell our audience all the events that you're attending in person or virtually this week? Sounds like you have a full schedule.
Yeah, I'm virtually attending HPE's Discover event. I was going to go, but I already had a commitment here at Sensors Converge, which is hosted by Fierce Electronics, which I contribute to, and they're part of the whole Questex family of publications, and so I contribute to them, on and off here and there.
Yeah.
And they hold this, what I think is one of the largest, if not the largest, sensor focused industry event. And it's here over at the Santa Clara Convention Center this year. There's probably about 5,000 people who are going to show. This is like really the official day one.
Okay.
But yeah, this is really cool. I mean, I think when people think sensors, they like to say sensors and then that's about it, right? Everything else beyond the word, it might seem really boring because it's super technical. I mean, we're talking about materials, we're talking about, different types of semiconductors that
Right.
go into sensors. It's like a whole different world, right? And so for me, it's really cool to expose myself to all this stuff, right? Because I think sensors are becoming increasingly important, whether it's for AV, like autonomous vehicles or vehicles in general, medical devices, or even going forward, XR devices, right? Because
What?
damn that fruit company, they had to start another techno arms race, which I think is going to spur interest in sensors. And there's all different types of sensors. I think most of us focus mostly on like things like or LiDAR or heat sensors and cameras, things like that, right? But there's a lot of different stuff here that really sort of expands the mind.
Yeah. Do you think it's possible that maybe the sensors were the most important thing all along?
Yeah, kind of, right? Because without sensors, you don't have data. Without data, you have no visibility. And without visibility, you can't even start to have an IoT thing going on, right? I mean, it's like this is foundational stuff, right? You can only instrument what you can measure and sense. So there you go.
I know we thought that cloud stuff and these platforms were the most important thing, but it turns out that was the easy stuff. Yeah. Sensors, hardware, embedded software, that's the important, and it's the hardest part too. That's right. Not everybody knows how to do that.
Right. And I think the economics that we're talking about here are completely different than what IT people and data center or cloud people are used to. And one of the things that I'm noticing, man, is when you talk about the IT, CT, or communications technology and OT convergence, one of the things that I'm arriving at in terms of a conclusion with my research is the divide is still really big. You know what I'm saying? And I think I'm afraid that there are some people who should know who don't know the periphery and the convergence points, because these guys who are on the IT side who think that all this cloud native stuff is going to dominate everything, and these IT models of operating and designing and building systems is going to translate perfectly to the OT and CT environment. I think they are so wrong. It's not even funny. But the thing that really disturbs me is that the prevailing narratives out there support some of these disconnected thinking or these disconnects, and so that's one of the reasons why I like coming to like different types of conferences. I'm HPE, I talk to those guys. I've already seen a lot of their stuff. I'm really familiar with all the IT stuff. So there's just incremental things that I learned from those types of events. But coming to something like this, it's a different type of, diet. And you know what I'm saying? A diet of information that does really help you connect more dots and expand your mind. So, and I think what these engineers are doing are just freaking, it's amazing, and far underappreciated.
Yeah. Wow. Did you have a take? I know you wrote something about related to HPE. Their whole Green Lake thing? Is that their on-prem cloud edge hybrid thingy?
Yeah, it's like they're sort of the hybrid. It's almost like they're, it's like a public. It's like a CMP, but then they also have infrastructure underneath that they're providing as a service, right? So it's really this cloud management platform, as well as some targeted, EOS and PaaS services that go from transverse across from cloud or multi-cloud type, stuff all the way down to, on-premise compute, right? And so the whole idea is that you have this cloud managed portfolio of, stuff that you can manage centrally and orchestrate workloads, and you create what is essentially a cloud native fabric across. And so if you're a CIO, you can create a cloud managed fabric of across your IT, right? And so it's pretty bold, but I think HPE kind of has the DNA for doing this kind of stuff because they've been doing it forever, right? It's just the narrative is now moving more toward the edge and, doing some of this hybrid cloud thinking. And I think it's accelerated because more and more you're seeing these people talk about, I guess not everything is going to go up to the cloud, right? A lot of it's just going to stay across the edges because, number one, they've always been there. They're comfortable there. And a lot of people aren't doing enough with cybersecurity to get all that stuff at the edge safely to the cloud and then going back and forth, right?
Yeah.
And like what HPE is doing, they're one of a number of companies that are trying to bridge that gap. And then what we're seeing is now hybrid cloud. But I think cybersecurity is the big barrier, right? Because everyone is generally pretty bad at it. No matter how good they say they are at it, there's holes all over the place, and it's a tough problem and a nut to crack, right? For a lot of enterprises.
I wonder if Dell's doing anything similar to what HPE is doing. Okay.
They're all kind of doing they're all fast following each other, right?
But what they do, where do they get money, Dell and HP these days?
Huh?
Where do they get money from?
Who do they get money from?
No, where? From where?
Laptops, servers.
Laptops, just selling laptops and printers?
No.
And they sell servers. No. They sell servers.
Maybe.
They both sell servers, rack servers. But you bring up a good point, Marc. The hyperscalers, only when they started, they used off-the-shelf servers from Dell and HP, but then they quickly realized that it didn't make sense, and they build their own servers now. Yeah. And so those guys aren't making money like they used to off of the hyperscale clouds. But as we've kind of talked about before, the data center industry is still going strong, even though we never hear about it. I keep hearing that just more and more private data centers are being built all the time. And most of the time, those guys are using, probably Dell and HPE and Supermicro and other servers like those guys.
Yeah, lots of Supermicro and a lot of ODMs out in China and Asia, Southeast Asia. That's where a lot of those custom hyperscale data center equipment is assembled. So you're right. Yeah, and so that was that whole trend about 7 years ago that now it's kind of like the mainstay now for the hyperscalers. But the pendulum definitely you can see is kind of shifting. I mean, you see it kind of in the numbers, right? GreenLake is obviously growing pretty well considering some of the challenges that the hyperscalers are facing. And you have to keep in mind the hyperscalers, like the big cloud service providers, they're dabbling in hybrid and edge stuff as well. So a portion of their revenue and growth is coming from that place. But it's interesting. I think it's really interesting to see the growth that we're seeing in some of the hybrid cloud plays. That are starting to outstrip the CAGR of what we're seeing with the cloud. I mean, albeit it's still kind of like the law of small numbers, relatively smaller numbers, but collectively, I think those numbers can probably get big pretty fast. If you really segmented where the investments in hybrid cloud or is actually going, because we always have to remember the big cloud guys they know that not everything is going to go up to the cloud, the central cloud. They have to figure out how to get out to the edge. So
but obviously
stuff is happening from the top and the bottom.
obviously IBM made a bet a few years ago by acquiring Red Hat. They're betting on the hybrid cloud, with that. Because their own cloud thing didn't work out the way they hoped. This is the dumbest question in the universe. Does IBM still make servers?
Oh,
no, I mean, I didn't. They sold a lot of stuff to Lenovo years ago, but and they make mainframes. Are they still making PC x86 servers?
No, I don't know.
I mean, so I wonder if IBM, when the IBM offers a solution, an edge solution with Red Hat, I just didn't know if it's IBM hardware sitting underneath that Red Hat software. I don't know.
No, I mean, it sits on top of pretty much anything that, can run Linux, right?
I'd feel pretty weird if I was an IBMer and offering Red Hat software and saying, yeah, go ahead and run this on a Dell.
That's what they do.
We don't know how to make servers anymore. We still make mainframes.
Right. Well, after they acquired them, they did their best to create this sense of arm's length relationship, right? Even though they own the company, they tried to create somewhat of a mind share firewall. It's like, hey, this is IBM, this is Red Hat. I don't know how successful that was, but
this may be why Red Hat is still everywhere. There.
Huh?
Maybe this is why Red Hat is still there.
Yeah, and they're everywhere. They're everywhere, right?
I think you're right, Marc. If the IBM antibodies had invaded Red Hat, they would have killed it after spending billions to buy it.
Billions.
Well, but that's the thing. We always talk about mergers and acquisitions and how so many M&A deals fail, and and it's sad, and lots of money is wasted. And so I know my own personal experience with M&A. It's always, how do we not kill this thing that we're trying to buy?
M&A is hard. Integration, post-merger integration, all the hypothetical and the stuff in the front is easy. Squeezing out synergies, value out of, and realizing synergies, all that stuff. Super hard.
Yeah.
And the people part.
Probably we need Rick.
Disastrous.
Probably we might have we need to hear Rick Bulota, right, to talk about M&As and how to kill or how to don't kill a company or your own company.
Because can you imagine you're an employee at a cool young startup and you get bought by a big boring old company and they want you to change the way you operate and it's not cool anymore.
With a suit every day.
Yeah, yeah.
I go with t-shirt.
And a lot of people are like, I'm out of here. This sucks. You guys are a bunch of old losers.
You need to come into the office every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm glad you're at the Sensors event. I see our buddy Steve Brummer's going to be there speaking as well.
Here, I hung out with him yesterday, and he's supposed to be here right now. That's why there's a chair right here.
If only.
The dude is.
What did you drink yesterday?
Customer. Huh?
Blackberry mojito. What did you drink? Blackberry mojito or?
No, only in Barcelona. That only happens in Barcelona.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So is he doing a session? Or I guess he is. Oh wait, I know he's doing his usual session, how to make money in IoT.
Yeah. It's always about that, right?
Everybody shows up because they're all like, "Oh my God, he's going to tell us the secret."
Yeah. I wonder if it changed from last year.
Yeah, but you see a lot of change on the IoT ecosystem.
Oh, what happened?
He likes this phase, so he's trying to stay here like 30 minutes. No, but meanwhile, Rob comes back. Do you think the IoT, not business cases, but the business, it's improving this year? Do you see a lot of changes?
Well, I think it has to improve, don't you think? I mean, the way I look at it is this: is like people are so disillusioned that they're going to they're going to be focusing on more realistic things, and those realistic things are going to be valuable things. You just have to work a little bit harder, but a lot of people have already, started on that path, right? And then they're starting to figure out, okay, how do we actually need to work together to deliver value to the end customer, right? I think people are getting a better sense of that. The idea that like people who make sensors and hardwares are going to be the people who front end a IoT solution, I think is just like, that's fundamentally wrong, right? And I think that's how people were kind of thinking. It's like, hey, look, I have this new sensor and it's going to revolutionize
the mobile application.
Everything. Yeah. And then somebody came up to them and said, hey, look, you know what? We have this forecast that says you're gonna make $1 gajillion. People aren't doing that anymore. And so that's where I think the mindset is becoming better. And hopefully our show has helped some, because we know a lot of people watch our show. Oddly, I have no
idea why, but yes.
No idea why. But I know that we've influenced people in a better direction. And I think it's going to improve. I mean, even you, Marc, you talk differently about IoT than you did when we first started the show, right?
Yeah, indeed, yeah. But a lot of things happened, right, since 3 years ago. So we had pandemics, we had the chip shortage, we had China ban.
Yeah,
so a lot of things in 3 years.
Yeah, I do still hear about the chip shortage.
Yeah. I was about to ask this. I don't know if this is a stupid question or not.
No,
yet.
It's not a stupid question. I don't think there are any stupid questions. But yeah, I hear about chip shortages, just supply chain challenges, reliability, up and down the stack, and then also prices still being much higher than pre-pandemic. On order of magnitude. I mean, it's not like twice or 50%. We're talking about 200-300%, but for smaller components. So not leading edge stuff. See, that's the interesting thing. This is all like super lagging end stuff.
Yeah.
All the
feedback that I had. Oh, sorry. All the feedback that I had is that Raspberry Pi was, for example, start to deliver as Raspberry Pi was a start to deliver as before of the pandemics and before the chip shortage. So that for me was like a kind of a green line of that the chip shortage it's getting over. Not sure.
Oh, really? No, I haven't heard anything. I mean, I'm bumping into Arduino folks. You
saw Massimo?
I hung out with Massimo when we were talking about Gen AI of all things. And I have to apologize.
How's he doing? Did you talk about his business?
Yeah, he's they're doing my impression was they're doing okay. We did for some reason talk a lot about Gen AI, but they're dabbling into that as well and looking at how do they support sort of more intelligent workloads closer to the sensors. And that's actually a pretty big topic here at Sensors Converge, right? Intelligent sensors, right? And how you fuse the machine learning inference or inference in particular much closer to the actual sensor, or embedding it actually in the sensor. So there's a few sessions that I'm going to sit in on to talk about that stuff.
Right. I'm always curious about, they launched that Arduino Pro line, a couple of years, 3 years ago, something like that. I'm curious if it's getting traction and having success.
I'll ask.
Yeah, you should. I mean, there's a lot of people love Arduino, and a lot of makers started using Arduino a long time ago. And then those same people say, I want to still use their stuff to go to production. And which they listened and they created Arduino Pro, and I hope they're doing okay.
Yeah. I'll ask.
Yeah.
One thing that is really nice from the last Arduino Pro, the Portenta H8, I think it's called, is that there is a microcontroller it's a single board computer, so it can run Linux. So this is a big difference on Arduino, right? But it still has a microcontroller that it's able to turn off the single board computer part and then get into very low power mode.
Wow.
So no, you can have this super powerful Linux device, but then this microcontroller that manage if it needs to be on or not. No, maybe you can have a sensor that manage, I don't know, if there is a presence or something, or with a sensor, and when it needs like a powerful CPU or to do specific operations, just power on the single board computer, all the Linux, and then it's super efficient on battery, for example.
I like that.
This is super interesting, and we had that on the Velena Fin, but it's not working anymore. But on single board computers, I don't see that a lot, and that's a really interesting feature for projects that maybe it's important to manage on batteries, but they are super powerful.
Yeah, you're right.
So what kind of applications are you seeing some interest or traction in that, Marc? I'm just curious. I mean, you're saying it's a pretty cool feature, but what are some of your developer friends saying in terms of potential applications where that could be, an innovative approach?
Yeah, for example, imagine this on all the agri-tech space.
Oh, okay.
If you're running on batteries and solar panels, maybe you don't need to have the Linux computer all the time, right? You can just wake it up in specific times. But you cannot do that if you don't have extra hardware.
That's kind of cool. And they're talking a lot about energy harvesting here, so they have a pretty big track on that. Okay. And it's funny because, well, I don't know if it's funny, but a lot of the stuff goes over my head because it's like a lot of it is material sciences. You know what I'm saying? So the best I can do is sit there and try to, reach back into high school physics or whatever, or college physics and chemistry, and try to understand what these guys are talking about. But it's pretty fascinating stuff, and we've come a long way. But it really puts a spotlight on the material sciences, right? And how all these different engineering disciplines have to come together to make some of these technologies actually work. And continue to progress. And so we haven't started the sessions yet, so I haven't listened in on anything, but I'll share what
that's important stuff. I'm hoping. I've been curious of when this energy harvesting stuff is going to move out of research and development and be in production widespread. We can just buy stuff off the shelf.
Yeah, I mean, the odd thing about it is a lot of this is advancing from the bottom. It's all about low power, right? Low power compute plus constrained by how much you can actually harvest in terms of power. It's like a really weird dynamic. You know what I'm saying?
But I remember in 2016, I was helping the Sigfox team to track an expedition to the North Pole with dogs and sledges, and they had dog collars with energy harvesting, sending GPS data just using energy harvesting with no battery.
Wow!
So just with the motion of the dogs running with the sledge. Wow! And it was really cool because you could see a map and how. So actually. Yeah, they had like, I don't know, maybe a satellite communication, and then they were giving Sigfox coverage nearby the expedition. But I mean, the signal from the dog collar was generated with energy harvesting, and that was super like, wow, incredible.
Yeah.
And I remember in 2017 that they had this experiment with potatoes. So they put like the poles from the energy to the potatoes, and they could send one Sigfox message.
Right.
So,
that's pretty
these
cool.
low power wide area networks actually are a really great fit for energy harvesting.
We're talking about energy harvesting.
Oh God, I love it.
And Sigfox.
Love it.
So,
and Laura,
is there a company called Sigfox?
Oh yeah, sure. It still exists. Yeah.
Maybe for you guys in Europe.
I learned about that in a history class in high school, I think. Yeah.
On the unicorns, on the unicorns class, you mean?
Yes.
On the fantastical unicorn class.
That's right.
No, it's actually something talking about low power wide area network came to my mind this week. I have seen, and I think it's made by a friend of mine, the first sticker with LoRa connectivity. And it's like a sticker with 3 months of battery.
Yeah.
And it runs on Sigfox or LoRa.
Yeah.
And it's a great. I'm not sure about the prices. I think they made like the first 1,000 units production, but they want to like start producing.
So what does it look like, Marc? Was it?
It's a sticker. It's a sticker like this.
It's a speaker.
No,
sticker. Yeah. So nano things. Is it the nano things device
or the flexible electronic?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
On paper.
You slap it on the You slap it on the outside of the label, and it's got the battery in it as well as a tracker. But I will tell you, Marc, that we found out last week a package came in and the dog bit the package and broke the thing and couldn't be tracked anymore.
Right.
So there's some limitations in some of it.
Those dang dogs.
Next year they're going to have a anti-dog track.
I'm not sure it's I'm not sure it's waterproof or whatever, but I mean it's a first iteration, right? So it's super interesting.
Yeah, a good friend of mine, Todd Peters, runs a company. They make those thin film batteries that you could put on a package. Yeah, that's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, you come here. Sensors Converge for that stuff, because that's another big talk. I mean, there's a lot of stuff here. It's
I'm getting the feeling that I'm missing out. I'm feeling like
you are something else.
I'm feeling like this sensors event is more important than all the other IoT events that we go to.
Well, like we were talking about earlier, right? If you don't have sensors, you don't have the data. Right. You don't have the visibility. Yeah, you have no IoT.
Yeah, exactly. I keep on telling people that sensors are the initial point of everything that we do. And so you can't come to the largest show in North America around sensors, and you're missing out on.
Exactly, and then you got to give these engineers and scientists super props, man. It's like some crazy stuff that they're doing for, a challenging economic. Model for the industry, right? I mean, it's all like a lot of it is race to the bottom stuff, so they have to figure out how to scale all this stuff out. But the engineering and the science that goes into so all of you who do think that IoT is all about the cloud and all that crap,
it's not.
This is where you need to be to understand where the real science is happening. All that, coding crap, creating dashboards and all that crap, that's nonsense compared to what's happening here.
I'm going to drive to the airport right now. I'm flying to Santa Clara.
Rob, I think this is a super boring event. I think it's a super boring event, but they just yesterday night drinking, saying, "What can we say tomorrow at the IoT Coffee Talk? Let's agree that it's a great event. It's super amazing."
Right.
But Steve, tell us the truth, please.
Well, Rob, I can tell you that there's several sessions this afternoon on smart agriculture and sensors. So it's the next generation of soil and temperature and moisture and pest control sensors that are on this program. So that's a little bit big, isn't it, Marc?
This is there
you go.
Temperature humidity sensor with like 5 years battery.
Wow. That's
with
great.
LoRa or Sigfox.
Looks weatherproof.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's IP97.
97.
Or even more. No, I don't think so.
Oh my gosh.
69.
So, but it's interesting, this sensor Converge, and seeing how many software and platform companies are involved also.
Yeah.
They realize that the correlation between, profitability It's got to be through something that's software related and application use cases and things like that. Just because you make this technology up and these great sensors, it doesn't mean squat, right? Unless it's being driven by something.
Right.
And the other thing too that we're seeing here is how many are moving into the edge computing world. So if you think about the sensors now going to an edge box and doing all that and protecting the latency issues that are sometimes required on these things, we're seeing a lot more edge related people. Leonard and I last night at the networking event, I was sitting there talking to a company that does traffic monitoring and pedestrian monitoring, even to the point of where they can see someone jaywalking in the middle of a street. And so my question to him was, that's great, but how do you get that data through in a real-time environment? And he goes, we don't. And I said, why is that? He goes, because it's too costly to do that. And I'm like, okay, so let me get this right. You found the guy that was jaywalking. You are tracking that data and you're giving it to the city, but only on a store and forward scenario because the city is concerned about should they put a crosswalk there? Is there, do a lot of people go there? So it's a measurement scenario, not a real-time thing. I'm like going, is it because you don't want to pay for the 4G LTE data from every camera that you have in the middle of the block? And he goes, no, it's really the idea that the business model, the cities don't want to pay for that. All right, it's interesting.
Well, I mean, so I don't know what the hell you guys are talking about.
A guy I met last night,
because he triggered me with just the stuff that he's talking about. But no, here's the interesting thing, man. I talked to a lot of folks last night, and we were talking about wireless. So, actually, people who are doing LoRa stuff, LoRaWAN, should be a little bit hopeful, which is kind of nice news, right? I think LoRa is going to have some growing interest this year.
Yep.
Because I think more people are learning about it, and
it's getting more mature, right?
Yeah,
it's getting
more. But I think it's less for the mega networks. It's more for private or localized applications and stuff.
Well, we'll be, as I've told you guys before, because we feel there's a gap in that LoRaWAN and sensor business, we'll be launching that IoT sensor store, hopefully within the next 60 to 90 days, where you'll be able to, as a consumer, go buy a box of sensors that are LoRaWAN compatible on your Helium network and keep on going, or go on your, EveryNet or Senate network or whatever, Marc, we decide we want to build, and go from there. But I think you're right. But I think the issue is, how do these companies here on the floor?
That will cost you a shirt, buddy.
Another one? Jeez, thank God. How many of these IoT Coffee Talk?
Dude.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay, Stephanie.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I think when we got to get to the point, and Rob, we look at some of these, places that you're putting sensors in. Could they go and buy this stuff off of a website and actually self-deploy? How do we get to that SMB markets within the IoT space, which we know is going to be a huge growth factor for us?
On Amazon.
I feel like maybe makers and hobbyists have been the primary users of, I bought something online and I made something. I bought a Raspberry Pi or Arduino and I connected sensors to it and built my solution. But you want something that's like that, but maybe more fully baked and ready to go. Yeah. We do got to make that easier, I guess. I mean, obviously people there's lots of different companies that you can go to Seed Studio, you can go to, so like Vanky and those guys, they've got their website on the things. Are you able to purchase? I mean, they kind of have the showcase of all the LoRaWAN devices on there. I didn't know if you could buy them. I think maybe they redirect you to the home website.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Are you trying to build something where you are like the aggregator e-commerce deal and they can just buy straight from you? You got inventory?
Right. So there's what we have found in our business is that there's been a plethora of IoT, LoRaWAN, and now Zigbee and Bluetooth and Matter and all these other things of sensors. Well, what are you doing? You're going to Amazon to buy this stuff? What are you doing? Where are you going for this? I mean, you're not going you're not going to the carrier, right? You're not going. Any of the carriers that are out there are not going to sell this stuff except for maybe, correct. And so, how does a restaurant owner get going? Right? How does a small family farm get going? Do they want to really call the large people to do? They want to do it themselves. They're tinkerers. So it's almost there. But I want to say, Rob, Arduino Pro is a huge sponsor here at the show. And you start to think about where those guys have come, and now they're like making pro big time, not experimental stuff. You know, changing the market a lot.
That's exciting. I'm happy. I'm happy for them. No, you know what? So yesterday I posted something that just because I do it, I've been doing all this in-building stuff, and so I just posted about using power over Ethernet to drive things. And I had a lot of people who actually work in the building space. They go, yeah, that makes sense. But then I had some, people who go, oh, you got to use LoRaWAN for everything. And I was like, there's always, I don't know how you can be thought of as a serious person or a serious architect when you just say, no, I can do this one wireless solution for everything. There's a cost reason, and there's and power consumption and other kind of reasons why you might use power over Ethernet when you have it available to you. I'm just super pragmatic. It's like, oh, there's a network here, I'm going to use it. I'm saving my customer money. I'm not trying to build an in-building in a skyscraper LoRaWAN thing. But I don't know. Am I wrong there? I mean, obviously people have opinions.
I think you're going to have different classes of stuff, right? I mean, it's like what you're saying, Rob. Any good architect is going to basically have a decision criteria and a strategy for where they deploy and how they deploy different types of IoT solution patterns, right? And that includes the connectivity. And so I think you're touching on something really important, because I think a lot of the folks who came up with these outrageous forecasts didn't factor that kind of stuff in. They just assumed there are these X number of sensor points potentially in a building, and these would all go wireless and somehow would need to be connected to power. They didn't think these things through, and all the different types of applications that you need in a building to make it smart. And so, you're right, dude. It's like PoE has its place, and it may actually be more of a favorable. Because tenants are going to do TI. Anyone who's going to retrofit a building is going to wire all the stuff in. And,
the retrofit building business has been all wireless because it's so much easier to deploy and set up. I think the PoE area, you bring up a great point, Rob. It's been around for quite a long time, but hasn't really taken off like I thought it would, because it's so, because the receptacles are there. I just didn't understand why more people didn't broadly deploy PoE solutions in buildings and factories and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen them use it quite a bit in connecting, we call it APs and stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're right. Because I don't know, you're right. You can't just assume everything, but lots of buildings, many buildings, most modern skyscrapers, whatever, high-rise condos, inside the walls is Cat 6 or Cat 5e Ethernet. Right. And the reason they have that is actually to provide wireless. As you said, it's there, but you don't remember, we always joke about, say, wireless is made of wires. And so the reason because they put Wi-Fi access points everywhere, but those access points are connected to Ethernet, right? Yeah. Ethernet's always the backbone of the whole thing. But to your point, on a retrofit, then that's a different game, or an older building or something like that. But yeah, you're right. I think power over Ethernet, Wi-Fi access points was probably the first place where people dabbled. And then security cameras, especially when you need to put one somewhere in a weird place where there's not an AC plug or somewhere to plug in and get electricity. You know, it's like, well, I'll just string the Ethernet out to it and get, you know, a little more bang for your buck. Anyway, but I think as I do more stuff in buildings, and I think about how do I source sensors that are going to work with power over Ethernet, which obviously I'm the only one on the planet that's even thinking about this because it's not cool, but I will need to do that. I know I can do power over Ethernet with Raspberry Pi, but what else is there? You know
what? I'm going to make an effort today. I want to find out, Rob, how many exhibitors. There's 212 exhibitors here, by the way.
Wow.
5,000 people at the show are planning on being in here. I don't know if you said that already.
Yeah, I did.
Okay,
Not the exhibitor,
but the idea that how many PoE sensors are on the floor?
Yeah.
Right.
I would say that a lot of outdoor LoRaWAN gateways or
there's going to be a fair amount of them.
They use
here.
power
I mean,
over
most of
Ethernet.
those guys are here. The other thing too is how many Wi-Fi 6 compatible sensors are here. As we hear more and more about that, and now I had a breakfast meeting with a guy who's got Halo going, but he's got no sensors.
Oh, right. Yep.
It's great to do, you know. So again, it's like we always start with the gateway and the router, and then we go, "Oh shit, I need sensors to be put in this thing."
Yeah.
Oh, well, you know, it's
That's
always
a great point. That's a great point because you're right. It'd be great to have Wi-Fi 6E, you know, sensors. I was reading some article. Some guys working on low power Wi-Fi.
But maybe this is a stupid or foundational question. I don't know. Is why sensors need connectivity?
There's no stupid questions, man. Why do you keep saying that? You ask good
I
questions.
feel that.
Just
I had the
stupid
feeling.
people. Don't worry about it. No.
No, you're right. I guess we talk about the notion of the IoT device, which may have one or more associated sensors on it.
Yeah.
The device has to have compute, storage, networking, power, and obviously it connects the sensors, whatever, in order to get that data back somewhere. But I totally get what you're saying, Marc. Lots of people are like, I make a sensor and I will plug into your device or whatever for you to backhaul it to wherever you want it to go. So that's a good point. But you're right. So many people at the same time are accustomed to having Wi-Fi built into their ESP32 or having, you know, whatever.
Yeah, I would try to be more efficient, like connect 5 sensors on one device with power over Ethernet, right? So
Yeah.
And that is
sensor gateway.
kind of a noticeable trend. So I was talking to some guys from a company called Acuity that's in smart lighting. And that's exactly what they're trying to do is kind of overload the device with sensors and make it more multi-purpose and multifunctional. And that makes connecting it with wiring it, and then also embedding like wireless, gateway type functions or AP type functions into it. It makes that whole exercise make a lot more sense. And so.
Did they talk to you about some of the use cases that they're doing in the airports and putting all those sensors in their lighting systems in the airports?
No, they didn't.
So they have they are super innovative. I mean, it's the old Lithonia lighting group. That's
the old school stuff.
It is, but it's the idea that you're putting it inside the lights, so you don't have to have sensor things all over the damn building.
It's on the light bulb, right?
Yeah, and all the and they're doing people counting, they're doing motion as to where people are walking and tracking and the airport ones are being tied directly to their commercial ability of the restaurants and the booths that they have in airports, saying this is we've done this study through the lights to say that these 18,000 people on a daily basis go this way. That's they tied it directly to money.
So yeah,
a light bulb automatically has electricity, right? So it's super smart.
Right.
Yeah. Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. But that's like one degree removed from what they talk about, what Sensors Converge really focuses on, right? Because this is about sensors, and these guys are at the next level, which is device level. type stuff. So,
well, the user cases. I mean, it's going to be interesting over the next 2 days to hear some of these people talk about, okay, I have the greatest energy harvesting sensor ever made. And then I'm sitting there going, okay, well, what the hell are you doing with it? Like, what's the application use case? Like, how many are you deploying? Like, how does it communicate? All that kind of stuff. So it's, I think I still think that for the four of us, there's still a place for us in the sense that some of these geeks have come up with really cool stuff, but they are still trying to figure out where the marketability of that product is or where those sensors fit into the whole ecosystem.
Steve, that's like West Side Story. There's still a place for us. Never. Sorry.
Don't start singing, Rob. Do not start singing.
I loved it when Barbra Streisand though did the remake of that song. So anyway, I'm just going to back away now.
Oh God, we're going.
But your camera follows you, so you cannot.
That's important. So Steve, I assume you're doing a session on how to make money in IoT.
If I didn't love you so much, I'd be saying some really cool things right now.
I was actually being serious. I figured you'd be
virtually clapping you.
I assumed you were doing your session on how to make money in IoT, but maybe I'm wrong.
Thank God you're allowed to steal at any time, Rob. It's okay. I'll send you the deck. Well, you have the deck. You can. No, actually, this afternoon I'm doing security and privacy with sensors. Like,
wow.
who owns that data? The feasibility of it. How hard is it to encrypt the data from the sensor to the edge computing box, or that kind of stuff. And then the privacy aspect is obviously a hot topic right now.
I'm forced to hang out with this guy at lunch. He's doing this roundtable thingy.
That's good. He's the guy you want to hang out with, man.
Oh, yeah. It's me. The elder statesman on his way out.
We are all just Padawans here, and Obi-Wan
whatever. Okay. Whatever. You better get down here now.
I wish it was virtually. I wish it was streaming or something. I'd watch it online, but I guess not. Gotta be here.
They have some good stuff, or I hope they have good stuff. I know in previous years, I've watched some sessions and they're interesting.
They are. I got my selected ones down that I'm going to go see. And again, Rob, I think the smart ag one it looks like it's going to be really, really good. Again, anything related to the platform integration and what are they running on? What's their back end running on? How's that data getting in?
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I think the expo hall is going to be a gold mine, getting to meet all these different sensor makers. You know, you said there's over 200 different companies. That's pretty good. God, you could probably spend the whole time just going booth to booth, learning about.
Yeah, which is what I'm looking forward to. It's not overwhelming like going to like CES where you see like 0.1%.
Yeah, I'm sure Mr.
Brummer
will be going booth to booth to make deals with these guys to have them be on his marketplace site as a reseller.
Now, Rob, you should be then here with me so that you can make some of that deals go down.
Yes.
What the hell are you doing at home, man?
Because he needs to pull it all back to Vero Beach, the world headquarters where all good things happen,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, me and the retirees.
All right. So we actually have to now jump into.
Oh, yeah. We have to leave, don't we? We're almost out of time. I have to go to my next meeting. Hey, at least you're not living in the villages, Steve.
Yeah, because I don't want to have. No, never mind. I'm not going.
I know what you're talking about. They're getting freaky there in the villages. It's like Cocoon all over again.
I tell you, I play in a 3-on-3 basketball tournament. The Villages has a 3-on-3 basketball tournament, and I go there every year to go play in it. And it's when my wife turns around and goes, "No pineapples for you." I'm like, no, I'm okay. Thank you very much. And there's 5 medical dispensaries in the Villages.
No way.
So sex, drugs, and you know what else.
All right. Welcome to the villages.
All right. On that note.
On that note, Marc, maybe you should take us out since you're recording.
Yes, glad that you managed till here. So see you next week. Say again.
Food in Spanish.
En Spanish.
We have an international audience, man. Come on.
Ok. Gracias por llegar hasta este momento. Nos vemos cada semana en el IoT Coffee Talk. Búsquenlo en su Google o chat GPT favorito y dele a suscribir. Nos vemos la próxima semana. Adiós.
I heard ChatGPT is